Menial work. A week later, one of our Turkish Christian friends who had been persecuted for his faith in Jesus told me that he had found a sales job for me in a leather shop. I was so excited that I could now provide for my family. He asked me to be ready the next morning when he would pick me up to take me to the shop. "How should I dress?" I asked him. "Have a nice shirt and trousers on, and a tie too if you have one," he said to me. So the following morning he came and took me to the place and introduced me to the manager of the shop. But my friend had misunderstood the manager. He did not want a salesperson. He wanted someone to box the goods, carry them on his shoulder to the distributors, and to load and unload the trucks. For some reason, the manager didn't even question my attire. Certainly with such clothes on, he should have at least questioned whether I was right for such a job. In any case, he didn't ask me, but instead led me to the work area and ordered me to fill large bags in the corner with leather goods, sew them up, and set them in the corner. He finished his instructions and left me with an 18-year-old man who was experienced in the job and was expected to be my boss in the absence of the manager. I certainly would not have accepted the position if I had been asked. In the Middle East, educated people avoid this kind of work. It would be uncomfortable for an overqualified person working in such a humble position. Nobody asked me, however, and now I was to start the job. I wanted to leave, but I was afraid that my friend who took me to the shop would not understand and be offended. He was a humble, simple man and did not worry about his worldly prestige. He once was a medical student, but couldn't stay away from Christian evangelism and left the university. Like the Apostle Paul, he threw himself into hard labor in order to see the gospel of Christ preached. Though he was persecuted for the sake of his faith, he was always joyful and excited. He did not mind sleeping in the streets for the sake of Christ, if the circumstances necessitated it. I did not want him to know that I, as his friend, was reluctant to work in such a job, so I could not leave. I began to work and followed the manager's instructions, but I was not happy. While sewing, I unknowingly sewed my tie to a bag. I didn't realize it until I was finished, seeing my tie sewed onto the bag at the seam. So I took my tie off, removed it from the bag, and put it into my pocket. Late in the afternoon, I loaded all the bags under the truck, making my clean shirt dirty. After I finished the job, the manager approached me and said that I had to come in early the next morning to unload a truck. By this time, I had finished all my examinations at the university, but still needed to write my PhD thesis. Now, because of the difficulty of my job and my family's needs, I had to put it aside for a while. At lunch and break times, a few people who worked in nearby shops learned that I was an educated man and had no choice but to work there. I was very embarrassed. That night, I was sad and unable to sleep well. I really did not want to return to work. Finally, I came to the realization that I was accountable to my family, and they would not mind that I worked in a lower position. I told myself that I had to work there until I was able to search for a better job. Things began to get increasingly difficult at work, which pushed me to find excuses to leave. The 18-year-old worker made life hell for me in the absence of the manager. He knew that I was a fugitive politician and also a Muslim who had become a Christian and thereby was very vulnerable to risks. He himself was from a Christian background. I believed that he was afraid if he was nicer to me, it could cause problems for him with committed Muslims if there were any in the area. In addition to this, he was not a very friendly person. He was like a dictator to me. It was more unbearable for me because of our age difference. I was 15 years older than him. Culturally, a young man like him is expected to respect older people. I could have complained to the manager about his behavior, but I was not sure what the reaction of the manager would be. My faith in Christ encouraged me to pray and wait on him. Within a few months, many people there heard about Christ. 4 Muslim businessmen who were customers at the shop came to believe in Christ. The people of the area who had seen my behavior at work began to respect me. This also made an impact on the young boy. He came to me one day with tears in his eyes and apologized for his behavior. This brought joy to my heart. I sensed the strong presence of Jesus so many times in this difficult workplace, and I grew to understand him better day after day. I had to be tested there to learn how to overcome difficulties with the love of Jesus Christ. It was there that I tasted the sweetness of evangelism for Christ.